Are you ready to be connected? You're listening to the Insured Connection podcast by Pica Group, a pro assurance company, where we provide expert advice for your practice when you need it most. We connect you with industry leaders to discuss timely topics so you can listen, learn, and get back to caring for your patients. Now, let's connect.
Well, hello, everyone. It's your host, Dr. Adrienne Ross on the Insured Connection. Thank you again. You've been loyal listeners and now viewers, and we've really kind of taken the time to show you the behind the scenes of not only PICA, but also within the profession and, those key organizations that have really come alongside and made the difference. And so we're going to do the same thing tonight. I have the privilege and the pleasure of unveiling some of the key people behind an organization called the Podiatry Foundation. So if you're not aware, I have been incredibly excited to share both two very special people. And so one is Vicki Newman, and then also Dr. Jean Pascarella. And just wanted to take the time and say thank you so much for taking the time to really join on the podcast. I know you two are very busy.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ross. We're excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with you, Dr. Pascarella, and first just asking, can you tell us a little bit about how the Podiatry Foundation started? I think it began back in 2012, but I'm sure there's more of a history to it. Can you give us a little bit of insight there?
Well, actually, that was very good. Yes, we started back in 2012, and really how we came about was when Kent State acquired the Ohio College of Podiatric Medicine. When that deal consummated, we were left with a sum of money that we then used to start the Podiatry Foundation. And that was back in 2012. I've been on the board of the foundation since 2012, and about a year ago became the executive director of the foundation.
Wonderful. Vicki, can you give us some background? And I believe are you chair of strategy?
Yes. And I joined the board back in, I think, late 2022. One of my colleagues at the time at Case Western Reserve is the treasurer at Podiatry Foundation. And he came to me and said that they were looking to expand their board membership, and they were looking for someone who had a philanthropy and finance background and someone who's just passionate about healthcare and education, all of those things. So I met with Jean and a couple other board members, and it just, we hit it off immediately. And I knew that this was a place where I could really bring a lot of what I've done professionally with areas of interest where, I feel really passionate about being a podiatric grateful patient myself. So it's been a really great mix and really thankful to be with the group.
Well, yeah, so Gene was kind enough to share with me beforehand, and he said, he loves being surrounded by powerful women.
Boy, am I tonight.
So he's a very secure man, and just reading about you and meeting you, yes, I completely can attest to that.
Well, you have to meet his wife, Christy, then you'll understand. He is surrounded by strong women.
This is a very secure man.
Yes.
I'll start with you, Vicki, on this question is kind of what are your thoughts, for the Podiatry Foundation? From a strategy perspective, what are you all looking to do?
Right. So, as Jean said, we've been doing a lot of great work since 2012, right? And since that time, a lot of it's been in CME, research related, and we've been doing a lot of great, data collection, hearing from our recipient all the fantastic work that they've been doing. Jean and especially the other clinical board members have fantastic relationships and keep in touch with everyone we're awarding funding to. But the one thing we've lacked over the past couple years is really telling our story, right? So we could be doing all these great projects, all this funding, building all this awareness, right? But if it's just kind of kept internally and we're not getting that out to a broader audience, we are really not out doing all the outreach that we can to spread the message, right? And to get other partners engaged. So really the past 18 months, we've been kind of rethinking, how we go about the work we're doing on our board and really making those strategic partnerships with, other folks in the community, other clinicians, all the industry partners, and really help spreading the words and telling our story a bit. So, and, I'm sure we'll get into this later, but a big part of that is really bringing in the next wave of, new student clinicians who will be the future of the field. And I think telling the story of what we've been up to can be really compelling to people really interested in medicine and learning more about the field in general. So that's one reason I'm really excited for it. And then downstream, being a patient, that's why we're all here, right? I think all the great work that everyone is doing in their field really ends up, affecting the patient, whether that's, an outcome that they might have or even preventative medicine. So, starting here and then seeing it go downstream.
I like the way that she said that. Obviously, you've got some pretty key clinicians, on your board as well. Nikki Nigro, Alan Block, like just great people, and Gene has been, I mean, we know him in the profession very much so as being always somebody as a bit of a fire starter, and so it's great to see that he's on the board. So I think from the profession, seeing him as the executive director and partnering with, great minds like you all, it's just really encouraging. And I think everyone's been curious of what you guys have been up to. So Dr. Pascarella, I'm going to ask you the same thing. What are the goals? What have you been up to? And what are some things that you're really excited about, particularly with the foundation?
I would say, the Podiatry Foundation is so unique. We're agnostic to all the politics. We're independent. And I really see us as sort of like the driving, unifying force within our profession. Let's talk honestly. We have some issues in the profession, right? And they're bigger than any one of us. So I think one of my main goals is collaboration, unification amongst all of our groups within the profession. And we took a big step towards that in the month of October, where we had a facilitated meeting. We sponsored the meeting and we had all the major organizations in one room. We had the APMA, ABFAS, ACFAS, ABPM, AACPM, everybody in one room. We're mainly talking about student recruitment and enrollment. We know the numbers are down, and that's really our lifeline. So that was the main focus. But to have all those people in the room and really show just the desire to work together. I've been doing this for a long time in this profession, longer than you, Dr. And, I just never seen people get along like that, right? And Vicky, she didn't know what to expect. I'm like, Vicky, just bring some popcorn. And Vicky, I don't know that I've ever asked you this, but what was your impression of that meeting?
Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and subscribe so you never miss an episode again. Now, let's continue to connect on today's topic.
So it's funny you mentioned that because I didn't need the popcorn for being, go walking into the room and thinking it was such a charged room with folks that have, sometimes competing agendas, right? And different feelings and history, things like that. It was so refreshing to see so many different colleagues come together for a unified cause and purpose and really understand that there's a problem or if we want to be positive, an opportunity that everybody really can connect into, right? And then it's bigger than any one group. And there's that realization that everybody does need to work together in order for it to work and for it to be successful. So I was so impressed with the level of kindness and professionalism and levity that group really, just crystallized that day. It was fantastic. And I wasn't expecting that. So it was nice to leave and be pleasantly surprised with the demeanor of the entire day. And it was a really safe place for people to be comfortable in voicing their opinions, right? Even if people had differing opinions, I think everybody learned a lot that day and maybe left thinking a little bit different than they had at the beginning of the morning.
That's encouraging to hear. I love that the Podiatry Foundation gave a safe place, for that exchange of ideas or whatnot. And both of you have touched on this. Obviously, the hot topic right now is student recruitment. So what is the Podiatry Foundation? I mean, you're partnering with others to try to solve this issue. And part of that is really marketing the profession for how great a profession it really is. But what are your thoughts on that, just with respect to student recruitment?
It's certainly the hot topic right now, and it is probably our primary focus. Obviously, if some research grants come along that we like, we're going to look at those and fund those, but really focused on the student enrollment and our sustainability of our colleges because the numbers are down quite dramatically. So I would say leading up to this meeting, like I mentioned, we had a facilitator. He interviewed all these groups, the executive directors and the presidents of all these groups prior to going into this meeting. So he sort of knew the lay of the land. And that's what made that meeting successful. And we have follow-up meetings now. We're probably going to break up into some subcommittees to address just different areas that we need more information, like validating all the data that we have. Number one, is this correct? What are our options to move forward? Is this a branding problem? Is this a competitive problem with nurse practitioner schools and PA schools? We really got to identify where we're going. And in the meantime, we are still doing sort of the branding that we started with the Feet on the Street program. Familiar with that with Dr.
Hmm.
Jensen? We're continuing to do some work as we explore what our next steps are.
Wonderful.
And what I might add to that, coming in and being the non-clinician, but having worked in higher ed before, is that it's a unique opportunity to understand the students, right? Coming in. I don't know, and this is just in general, higher ed is hurting, just enrollments. And it's really forcing, schools, different schools, whether it's podiatry or, different types of disciplines, to really hunker down and understand their audience and understand their consumer, right? And put the work in to create really compelling and interesting, find a place for the student to find themselves in that career, right? I think a lot of time, folks just would rely on their laurels and just assume they're going to have another great recruitment year and the students will keep coming. But now there's a little bit more work to be done to understand the audience and really dig into those different pockets to find out who that next generation of podiatrists truly are. And how early do you need to start? Do you start in junior high, building that awareness of what a podiatrist is? Do you do some work at high schools? At what point do you work with undergrad populations or different types of students? To me, I thought that was a really fascinating conversation that we had with the group because it is more nuanced than just throwing out some marketing and, hope our enrollments go up, right? There's all these other ponds we have to fish in and figure out who is the next student and what's the value prop for them and why would they want to become a podiatrist. So again, it's all about telling the story and building that awareness with those various groups.
So I live with the, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Pascarella.
Building the awareness is so important. But Dr. Ross, as well as I know, what a wonderful profession this is. And
Yes.
the statistic that I heard was that if a student follows a podiatrist, job shadows them, there's an 80% chance that they're going to go into podiatry or at least apply to a podiatry school. So that tells us
Yes.
right there, we need to make people aware of what we do and how great this profession is. It's been a blessing
Hmm.
in my life, blessing in your life.
Yes.
So we actually need more people to mentor like that to allow students to job shadow. So maybe that's one
Yes.
of the initiatives that we look at.
So that was leading to my next question, a little bit of mind reading there, is what would be your call to action, from the Podiatry Foundation if others wanted to partner alongside you and say, hey, we want to help? What would be that call?
That call would be, we need your help and we welcome your help. And like I said earlier, the problem is bigger than any one of us. And if you look at some of the things we are trying to do as a foundation to position ourselves there, it takes a lot of money to be able to do brand awareness. And we need that. So it's going to take funding. So Vicky is a huge part of this on our board. Blessed to have her, but we are in the process of opening a DAF, which is a donor advised fund, to be able to accept donations from anybody, tax deductible donations, who will want to support our cause. So we're hoping to get some traction there. We're also hoping that these groups that we brought together stay together and we find our way together.
Want to receive a monthly newsletter with topics from the Insured Connection? Head over to picagroup.com/Insured Connection and join our email list to have it delivered right to your inbox.
Right. Yeah, I think to piggyback on what Jean's saying, we've done a lot of great work on the funder side of things since our inception. And in order to grow and build awareness, we do need to develop and extend our philanthropic arm. So I think the donor advised fund option is fantastic. And really, it dovetails nicely into all the larger groups we're working with, getting that word out. We are going to be doing impact reporting later this year. That's going to go out to all of our, friends of Podiatry Foundation, different counterparts, telling our story, and then, giving folks an outlet, if they want to be involved, whether it's through philanthropy. Maybe it's your podiatrist and you would love to have a student, or any way you want to get involved. It doesn't need to be financial only. There are so many different prongs that make this so important.
Wow. And so I think I'm really encouraged for one. I knew obviously what you all were doing, but I think for our listeners, it's good for them to hear, for one, that a profession would care enough about, those going into it, but also those that are currently in it, and that it would want to do something like this, because you don't always see that in different professions, that you would have a foundation that would take on such, kind of a catalyst type role. So that's really encouraging. Yeah, thank you for that. I guess I just wanted to take the moment and say thank you. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to say to our audience before we go ahead and wrap up? But I will be having you back. I will leave room for me to say that.
Well, we would love to be back. And if I had a message to any of the podiatrists that are watching tonight, it would be to join our effort, our cause, to elevate this profession to where it should be and needs to be. We can do this together. We have to be unified to do it. No more infighting.
And my parting word would be, as a patient, make sure to go see your podiatrist, right? I'm a frequent flyer to my podiatrist, have been for years, and they really keep you going, right? And I think oftentimes, you don't think about your feet, right? And it leads to so many other issues. So I would say make friends with your podiatrist, know who they are. I would say the two I've seen recently both had fantastic students working in their practices. So just that ties back into what we're doing. And the students seemed so happy and loved what they were doing. So again, just would love to build awareness for what you clinicians are doing and nurturing that next generation of podiatrists up and coming, because we all need it. So without the students, we're not going to have the clinical care to take care of us. So that would be my plea, or my case for support and ask here.
Ross, I feel blessed to have you on the board, and I think she appreciates having my cell number. So when her feet hurt, she goes right to me.
Yeah. Dean, I've been doing the exercises you recommended a couple weeks ago. I've had my bands. I got my little cork balls that I'm rolling my feet.
I was wondering about that.
When the text started out as, what does it mean when your foot?
Yeah. Or my husband ruptured his plantar fascia. What do I do?
Yeah. I've been a part of those conversations for sure.
Yeah, phone a friend.
Well, the two of you, thank you so, so much. And to all our listeners, again, thank you for taking the time. This is probably one of my very favorite podcasts that we have done. For one, because of the impact that this organization and these two individuals are looking to make. And then also just for the very genuine call to action. So again, thank you very, very much for joining us, and stay tuned for our next episode.
And that's it for this week's episode. But let's continue connecting. If you're enjoying the Insured Connection, don't forget to leave a review on your streaming platform and subscribe now so you can connect with us each time we post a new episode. To stay connected with us throughout the week and to tell us topics we should discuss on future episodes, go to picagroup.com/Insured Connection.